Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's garden video. The first thing I want to point out is some of the beets did survive that I protected with those little plastic sleeves, so they're doing fine. I'm not going to necessarily plant anymore, but that was fairly successful in getting them big enough to survive. Also this week, I continue just to harvest zucchini after zucchini after zucchini, and in fact, I'm to the point now where I'm stopping harvesting them and just letting them go to winter squash. This is my pile of cucumbers, which is just crazy to me that I've gotten so many cucumbers this year. Cucumber overload, not necessarily a bad thing, but just so many cucumbers, and there's still a lot more on the vine. I was debating whether or not I was going to plant anything for the fall, but I thought I definitely like having lettuce around, so I decided to plant my 4 different types of lettuce, and so I've got those ready to go for the fall. I haven't recorded this yet, but I did remember to bring my camera out with me when I went along the side of the road by where I live, and I picked a bunch of blackberries. I will probably pick 1 or 2 more times. There are so many blackberries this year, and they're so huge and beautiful and big, and I just love blackberries, so I'm excited when I get to pick them. Tomatoes are coming in really well. I've got some basil there, and I've got like a handful of broccoli that I pick every day. And I also picked a bunch of Ozette potatoes, which are, you can see they have a little bit different shape. They're more like a fingerling. They're a local potato from here, and I planted them last year. I also have some tomatoes that are coming in. I'm making a bunch of tomato sauce, and my process of making tomato sauce is just throwing the whole tomato in there, boiling it down, squishing all of the pulp and stuff through that sieve, adding a little bit of citric acid because they say you should do that for preserving it, and then I go ahead and boil them, and I'm making tomato sauce. And I will continue to do this throughout the season. I only got 3 jars thus far, but as the season goes on, I'll continue to make more tomato sauce. This is a day where you're going to see me running around and fast forward kind of the whole day. I picked some carrots, I picked some tomatoes. This was really just me getting out into the garden and just harvesting. I had a couple leftover cabbages here that I finally pulled out of the ground. My lettuce, which is starting to bolt, I'm still harvesting a little bit of it. I'm still picking up, handfuls of broccoli. So although you're kind of seeing this all happen in one day, I really am doing this almost every day. I'm going out and picking stuff, and so that's why this video isn't necessarily super long. It's just every single day I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again. Here's me kind of picking a bunch of zucchini. As you can see, I almost dropped them there. Here's me picking some cucumber. It's just, pick. And here's more cucumber as well. So it's a busy time of year. I wanted to show harvesting this cauliflower. It's kind of silly. This is, although I did get some good cauliflower earlier in the season, this is kind of what my cauliflower have been doing. Not really growing much and producing these little teeny tiny heads, but anything that produces, I still harvest and I pull in and I eat. This is another look at kind of, like I said, I'm just out there harvesting, pulling carrots out, pulling lettuce, you name it, I'm pulling it out. So this looks like a daily harvest for what's going on right now in the garden. And of course, the animals do get to enjoy anything that I'm not bringing into the house. And honestly, that's the extent of what happened. It's just rinse and repeat this week. So here's a look at the seedlings that I started, the lettuce. They're already starting to germinate, which is great. Here's a look at the broccoli and the cauliflower in the background, and I do continue to get a little bit of broccoli out of there. Here's a look at my strawberries over at my chard and some lettuces. Here's a look at my carrots and my potatoes. I'm about to pull out all my potatoes and harvest them. Here's a look at my tomatoes. It looks pretty green, but there's a lot coming on any given day. My onions are empty except for these seed heads, which are growing up nicely. So you can see that bed is clear of the onions. My grapes are growing really nicely this year, my new grapes that I planted a couple years ago, and my butternut squash is going to town along with my new berry vines, so I'm excited for next year for those. Here's a look at my raspberries, which are producing a nice fall crop. I'll get those soon. My basil is ready to harvest, second round, and here is my peppers and tomatillos. And my tomatillos are coming in. I've never really gotten a good harvest of them, but there's a bell pepper. You saw this at the beginning of the video, but here's a look at the few beets which have made it. And here's a look at my zucchini plants, which I'm letting go at this point in time. My cucumbers in the background, my beans off to the right, and my corn in the background. And that was a look at what's happening in my garden this week, and I'll just leave you with a little shot of the goats out in the field.